The Galactic Council chamber glowed with banners of empires. Delegates from 100 species filled the seats, their voices sharp, their eyes cold. They had gathered not to discuss war or trade, but to mock a single species. Humans. The avian delegate spread her bright wings wide. Look at them. Fragile skin, no claws, no armor. They bleed too easily. Their bones break like dry branches. How did such creatures ever leave their world? The insectoid leader clicked his mandibles in rhythm, his tone mocking. Soft flesh. Weak hearts. They are not predators. They are prey. Laughter spread across the chamber. The reptilian general slammed his claws against the table, his voice deep and cruel. I fought them once. They shouted loudly, but they fell quickly. We crushed their colonies, we burned their fleets. Now, they are scattered dust. Humanity is finished. The chamber echoed with laughter, cruel and proud. But one voice did not join. From the lower seats, a young scholar rose. His skin was pale blue, his robes plain compared to the jeweled armor of generals and rulers. His voice shook, but it carried. You all laugh at their bodies. But you do not ask why they survived so long. Humans walked on worlds no other species could endure. Death worlds of ice and fire, storms and poison. Yet they lived. Fragile flesh, yes, but survival beyond reason. The chamber quieted slightly. A few eyes turned toward him, annoyed by his interruption. The reptilian general sneered. Survival? Accidents of luck. Nothing more. The scholar lifted a small data slate. His hands trembled, but his eyes burned with quiet fire. Then explain this. The chamber screens flickered. Images appeared, grainy, bold, but sharp enough to sting. They showed human ruins, shattered cities, destroyed fleets. Yet in the ruins, bodies moved. Not one. Not a handful. Many. They were crushed, the scholar said, his voice growing stronger. Yet they endured. Every time you thought them gone, they returned. Every time you broke their bones, they stood again. Whispers filled the chamber. The speaker tapped his golden staff, trying to calm the storm. Enough of this. They were weak, and the weak vanish. That is the law of the galaxy. But the scholar did not sit. His voice rose, trembling but fierce. No. The weak vanish. But they did not. Why? The chamber screens flickered again. This time, it was not ruins. It was a signal. A faint transmission, deep from the void. Not alien code. Not random static. Human. The insectoid leader hissed. Impossible. No human channels remain. The scholar shook his head. The code changes every hour. It is alive. Someone sends it. The laughter stopped. Delegates leaned forward, uneasy. The avian delegate's voice cracked. If they live, where are they? We see no fleets. We see no armies. The scholar's eyes narrowed. Perhaps you do not see, because they do not want to be seen. The reptilian general roared, his claws slamming the table. Lies. Tricks. This is the work of smugglers, rebels, scavengers. Humans are broken. Weak bodies cannot hide fleets. The scholar whispered, his voice sharp. You mock their flesh. But what if flesh was never their strength? The chamber froze at his words. A heavy silence fell. The speaker lifted his staff again, but his voice trembled this time. You speak in riddles. What is your meaning? The scholar held up the data slate one last time. A phrase scrolled across the screens in Old Earth language, translated into every tongue. You saw only our bodies. You never saw our secret. Delegates gasped. Some shouted. Others trembled. The reptilian general snarled, but his eyes flicked nervously to the ceiling. The avian delegate's feathers shivered. The insectoid leader clattered his mandibles without rhythm. The scholar whispered again, his voice cold. What if the weakness you mocked was only a mask? The chamber fell silent. For the first time in centuries, the council did not laugh. And far away, hidden in the void, a black ship drifted. Its engines glowed faint red, its weapons quiet but waiting. Inside, a figure stood on the bridge, watching. His voice was low, calm, merciless. They laugh at our bodies. Let them. They will learn the truth soon enough. The prison ship Zereth drifted above a barren moon, its metal hull bristling with defenses. Inside, soldiers moved with confidence. They carried a prisoner unlike any other. A human. Guards shoved him into a cold cell. He looked fragile, thin arms, bruised skin, a limp in his walk. Compared to the armored reptilian guards, he looked more like prey than prisoner. His breathing was heavy, but his eyes were calm. The commander of the prison ship, a tall reptilian officer, sneered as he studied the human. So this is what the galaxy fears? Flesh so soft I could tear it with a single claw. He leaned closer, his teeth glinting. Tell me, human. What secret keeps your kind alive? What myth makes the council tremble? The human smiled faintly. His voice was soft, steady. You've only seen the shell. Not what we hide. The officer growled, slamming his claw against the bars. You mock us with riddles. We'll strip your body apart. We'll find your truth in your bones. The guards dragged the human to a table of scanners. Metal arms hummed as they passed light across his body, mapping organs, blood, and bone. One guard chuckled. Look. Weak muscles. Hollow bones. No armor, no weapons. This is the species that survived war? Another hissed in agreement. Fragile. Breakable. Not worth the fear. But then, the scanners beeped. The room fell silent. The commander frowned. What is this? Lines of data flashed across the screen. Strange readings in the human's nervous system. Patterns not found in any natural biology. One of the alien scientists spoke nervously. Sir, there are anomalies. Implants, but not mechanical. Not fully organic either. Something fused into the nervous system itself. The commander narrowed his eyes. Explain. The scientist's mandibles clicked nervously. It's as if his body is only half the design. Something else is inside him. Something hidden. The human chuckled softly, lying calmly on the scanner table. You call us fragile. But you never ask why we stand after every fall. The commander slammed his claws down. What are you hiding, human? The prisoner's calm eyes turned cold. His words were sharp, whispered but powerful. You think our bodies are our weakness. But our bodies were never the weapon. The lights flickered. Systems whined. Consoles sparked. Guards looked around nervously as alarms flashed across the prison ship. What is happening? Systems are failing. Shields dropping. The scientist's mandibles clattered in panic. The energy spikes, they're coming from him. The commander snarled. Impossible. But the human only smiled. His eyes glowed faintly, like embers under ash. I told you. You've only seen the shell. The restraints on his arms snapped loose. Guards raised their weapons, but before they could fire, the lights shut down completely. Darkness filled the chamber. Screams echoed in the black. When the lights returned, the guards were sprawled across the floor. Their weapons were dead, their eyes wide with terror, their bodies trembling as if touched by something unseen. The human stood free. His voice was calm, cold. Fragile bodies, yes. But what you fear is not flesh. What you fear is will. And we turn will into power. The commander stumbled back, his claws shaking. What are you? The human stepped closer, his gaze steady. The first survivor. The first proof. And soon, you'll see the rest. Outside, the prison ship's comms burst alive with a chilling message, broadcast across nearby systems. Flesh is not our strength. The dark secret is. The prison ship Zereth never made it back. By the time reinforcements arrived, they found only drifting wreckage. Hulls twisted, weapons shattered, systems dead. The crew was gone. No signs of battle. No enemy ships on record. Only silence, cold, empty silence. But one thing survived. The message. It spread across the galaxy like wildfire, carried by smugglers, soldiers, traitors, and frightened civilians. Flesh is not our strength. The dark secret is. On reptilian fortresses, soldiers whispered the words in their barracks. What does it mean? Do they have new weapons? Or, was it something inside them? Veterans who had once mocked humans sat pale and silent, remembering battles they thought they'd won, only to see humans stand again, wounded, broken, but unyielding. In insectoid hives, the message was repeated like a chant. Workers clicked nervously, their antennae twitching. The dark secret. The humans carried it all along. What if they never died as we thought? On avian towers, scholars studied old records. They dug into archives that had been erased, hunting for traces of humanity's forgotten wars. One scholar's feathers shivered as he spoke aloud to his peers. They fought wars they should never have survived. They endured wounds that would kill us in moments. Perhaps the flesh was only the mask. The council chamber was no longer filled with laughter. Delegates shouted over one another, wings flaring, mandibles snapping, claws scraping against stone. They hide weapons inside their flesh. No, this is illusion, meant to frighten us. They are already here, hidden among us. The speaker slammed his golden staff, desperate to calm the storm. Order! We must know the truth before we give in to fear. But fear had already taken root. The young scholar who had once warned them rose again. His voice trembled, but he pressed forward. You all laughed when I said their survival was unnatural. Now you hear the truth in their own words. The dark secret was never about bodies. It was something else, something deeper. The reptilian general roared, his pride cracking into anger. Lies. Tricks. No species can change their nature. Flesh is flesh. Weakness is weakness. The scholar met his eyes, unflinching. Then why did every empire that fought them bleed? Across fleets, reports began to surface. Stories long buried returned like ghosts. A battle where humans took wounds through their hearts, yet fought on. A war front where entire squads rose again after being struck down. A colony siege where no human surrendered, even when starved for months. At the time, these tales had been dismissed as rumors. But now, with the message, they felt like truth. A reptilian captain sent a private report to the council. My soldiers fired directly into their ranks. Their bodies fell. But they stood again, their eyes dark, their movements strange. I thought it madness. Now I think, it was the secret. An avian admiral whispered in fear. We always thought they were fragile. But what if fragility was only the mask they wanted us to see? The whispers grew into panic. Across colonies, civilians spoke of shadows in the void, black ships with red engines, watching silently. Soldiers refused to march. Some fleets even deserted, unwilling to face what might be waiting in the dark. The council summoned the smuggler prisoner again. His face was pale, but his eyes were calm. Tell us, the speaker demanded, his staff shaking in his claws. What is this dark secret? What did you see? The smuggler smiled faintly. I saw men with broken bones still fighting. I saw women with burns across their skin still walking. I saw soldiers who should have been corpses, but they looked me in the eyes and spoke as if death had no hold on them. The chamber froze. The smuggler's voice lowered, sharp as a blade. The dark secret is not about what you see. It is about what they refuse to lose. You cannot take it from them. You cannot kill it. And that is why you fear them. The speaker tried to protest, but his voice cracked. No, no species can defy death. The smuggler's eyes burned. You call it death. They call it survival. Far away, in the silence of deep space, a fleet of black ships drifted. Their engines glowed faint red, their weapons slept. On the bridge of the lead dreadnought, Red Captain stood. His voice was calm, certain. Let them whisper. Fear spreads faster than fleets. Soon, they will learn the truth. The prison ship Zereth was only the beginning. Across the galaxy, more humans were captured. Fleets hunted them, eager to prove they were only fragile prey. And in one dark corner of space, a massive transport vessel held dozens of human prisoners. The aliens thought they had finally crushed the myth. But myths do not die so easily. Inside the ship's cold cells, the humans sat quietly. Their bodies were bruised, scarred, weak to the eyes of their captors. Guards mocked them as they passed. Look at their soft skin. They break too easily. They are prey pretending to be hunters. The guards laughed. But the humans did not. They sat still, silent. Their eyes calm. As if waiting. One night cycle, the alarms sounded. Power fluctuations rippled through the ship. Systems dimmed, lights flickered. Guards rushed through the halls, shouting orders. In one cell, 3 humans lifted their heads at once. Their eyes glowed faintly. Not bright, not fire, not lightning, just a dim red shimmer, like embers hidden under ash. The guards froze. What is this? The humans stood. Their movements were slow at first, but then in perfect rhythm, as if one mind guided them all. The lead guard raised his weapon. Stay back. The humans spoke in unison. Their voices merged into a chilling harmony. You think our bodies are the limit. But flesh was never the weapon. The lights flickered. Consoles sparked. The guard's weapon powered down in his hands. Alarms blared across the ship. The commander stormed into the chamber, his scaled face twisted in anger. What is happening here? The scientist at his side stammered, his mandibles clattering in panic. Sir, the energy spikes, they're coming from them. The commander snarled. Impossible. They have no technology. But the scientist's eyes widened as he studied the readings. No, it's not machines. It's their minds. Their nervous systems are amplifying something. Something we cannot measure. The 3 humans stepped forward, their eyes glowing brighter. The air grew heavy. Guards stumbled, clutching their heads, their bodies trembling as if unseen hands gripped them. The commander roared. Fire! Fire now! Blasters lit the hall with streaks of light. But the beams bent off course, fizzing into sparks before they reached the humans. The commander's jaw tightened. No, this cannot be. The humans spoke again, their voices calm and united. You call us fragile. You called us prey. But we turned survival into something else. We turned will into power. The ship's systems collapsed. Doors slammed open, lights burned out, engines died. Across the prison decks, alarms wailed. In the silence, the guards screamed, not from wounds, but from fear. Their weapons failed. Their bodies refused to move. And still, the humans advanced, step by step, their eyes burning with quiet fire. One of the guards collapsed to his knees, his claws trembling. What are you? The lead human's voice was low, steady. The beginning. The first to awaken. The commander staggered back, fear twisting his face. He had mocked them, laughed at their weakness. But now, staring at those glowing eyes, he saw no fragility. No weakness. Only inevitability. The human looked at him, and for the first time, the commander realized the truth. They had never fought bodies. They had always fought something deeper. Outside, the prison ship shuddered. Systems overloaded. Engines burst. And then, in silence, the entire vessel went dark. Hours later, rescue fleets found it drifting. Every alien crewman was alive, but paralyzed with fear, unable to speak. The humans were gone. The only sign left was a single phrase burned into the main console, glowing faint red. The awakening has begun. The prison ship's wreckage was not the end. It was the beginning. The message left behind, the awakening has begun. Spread across the galaxy faster than any fleet could move. And with it came fear. On reptilian fortresses, soldiers whispered in their barracks. I heard the humans walk through blaster fire. No, they turned the weapons off with their minds. I don't care how, something is wrong. Something is changing. Some soldiers sharpened their claws, pretending to be brave. Others avoided patrols, unwilling to face the darkness of space. In insectoid hives, workers repeated the story as if it were a warning song. They rose after death. They moved as one. They carry shadows in their flesh. The rhythm of labor slowed. Fear ate into the hive's perfect order. Even their queens stirred uneasily, asking questions they had buried for centuries. In avian towers, holoscreens replayed grainy footage smuggled from survivors. The recordings were shaky, but clear enough to terrify. 3 humans standing together, their eyes glowing faint red. Weapons failing around them. Guards collapsing in silence. Children stared wide-eyed. Elders muttered prayers. And in the plazas, voices whispered the same word again and again. Awakening. The council chamber was chaos. Delegates shouted over one another, wings flaring, claws slamming, mandibles clattering. They are not weak, they are monsters. We should have crushed them long ago. No, they were never meant to be fought. Not like this. The speaker struck his golden staff, but his voice trembled. Order! Order in this chamber. But there was no order left. The young scholar rose once more. His voice was quiet, but the silence it brought was louder than the staff. You all laughed at their flesh. You mocked their weakness. But what if weakness was only the mask? What if they chose to appear fragile, while hiding what they had become? The reptilian general bared his teeth. No creature evolves in secret. No empire hides such power. The scholar's eyes narrowed. Yet here we are, watching their myths breathe. Reports poured into the chamber, each worse than the last. A frontier fleet had engaged a handful of human survivors. The survivors walked through the fire, their wounds closing as they advanced. A colony commander reported that soldiers who had killed humans saw them rise again, their eyes glowing faintly, moving without hesitation. In one mining station, an entire garrison surrendered after only 3 humans appeared, speaking in one voice, leave. And the garrison left. Panic spread through colonies. On market worlds, civilians refused to travel at night, whispering that humans hid in every shadow. On warfronts, fleets refused to launch, fearing ambush from unseen ships. On entire planets, children repeated the phrase like a curse. The awakening has begun. The speaker collapsed into his seat, his staff shaking. If this is true, if this is their dark secret, then what do they want? Why return now? The prisoner smuggler, still chained, raised his head. His voice was soft, but it carried. They don't want conquest. They don't want tribute. They want you to live in fear. To know you never broke them. To remember. The chamber froze. Suddenly, the screens flickered. Static filled the chamber. Delegates turned as one, their eyes wide, their bodies trembling. A face appeared. Cold eyes. Black uniform. Behind him, shadows of steel and faint red light. Red Captain. His voice was calm, merciless. You thought fragile flesh was all we had. You never looked deeper. You never asked what we hid. Now, you will learn. The awakening has begun. And it will not stop. The screens went dark. The chamber erupted in terror. Some delegates screamed for war, others for surrender. Fleets mobilized, but captains hesitated. Soldiers whispered. Civilians trembled. And in the silence between panic and denial, one truth spread across the stars. Humanity was no longer myth. They were awakening. The council chamber was drowning in fear. Delegates shouted, wings flared, claws slammed against stone. No one trusted the silence anymore. Not even the walls felt safe. Then a new report arrived. A stolen data core. The artifact had been smuggled out of a dead human colony centuries ago. Until now, it was thought worthless, damaged, encrypted in a language long forgotten. But after the prison ship incident, the council's brightest minds cracked it open. What they found froze the chamber. The screens flickered to life, showing fragments of files, words glowing in human script. Project Umbra. The insectoid leader's mandibles clattered nervously. Umbra, the word means shadow. The avian scholar translated further, her feathers trembling. It is a program. Not weapons. Not ships. Humans were experimenting on themselves. The reptilian general snarled, unwilling to believe. Lies. No species mutilates its own flesh. But the files spoke for themselves. Schematics showed nervous systems spliced with artificial nodes. Records described trials where human soldiers endured impossible wounds yet continued to fight. Reports spoke of entire squads linked together, their minds merging under stress, moving as one. The chamber grew colder with every word. One entry silenced even the loudest voices. Flesh is weak. Memory is strength. Bind memory to body. Bind will to survival. The council froze. The speaker's claws shook as he gripped his staff. They changed themselves. The young scholar nodded slowly, his voice low. Not with machines alone. Not with drugs. They fused their instincts, their very will to survive, into something stronger. Something beyond flesh. The reptilian general's roar cracked into a growl. Then every human we ever fought was not just a soldier. They were experiments. Before anyone could respond, the screens flickered again. This time, it was not old files. It was live. A human stood tall in a black uniform, his eyes steady, his presence undeniable. Behind him, endless shadows of steel drifted in silence, engines glowing faint red. Red Captain. His voice carried across the chamber, calm and merciless. You wanted our secret. You tore our colonies, burned our fleets, mocked our flesh. Now you see what we built in silence. He gestured behind him. The camera shifted, showing ranks of soldiers aboard his ship. Their bodies looked ordinary, scarred, worn, but their eyes glowed faintly red. When one moved, all moved. When one spoke, all voices echoed together. We are Umbra. Delegates recoiled in horror. The avian scholar whispered, they move as one mind, many bodies. The insectoid leader trembled. Impossible. No species can merge will without losing itself. Red Captain's eyes narrowed. You see monsters. We see survival. You mocked fragile bodies, so we broke the limits of flesh. We turned weakness into power. Will into weapon. Memory into strength. The chamber erupted in fear. This is abomination. They will consume us all. We cannot fight this. The speaker shouted over them, desperate. Red Captain. If you reveal this to us, what is it you want? The human's voice turned colder. What we always wanted. Not conquest. Not tribute. Only truth. Humanity was never weak. Humanity prepared. And humanity returns. The screen darkened, leaving only silence. But the words remained, burned into every heart in the chamber. We are Umbra. Across the galaxy, the files leaked within hours. Entire populations read them in fear. Soldiers whispered of Project Umbra. Civilians wondered if the humans they once mocked were ever normal at all. On reptilian fortresses, commanders ordered shields raised, terrified of shadows. In insectoid hives, queens ordered deeper tunnels, but their workers trembled. In avian towers, children repeated the words in the streets. We are Umbra. In the void, the armada stirred. Black ships drifted silently, their engines glowing like red stars. On the lead dreadnought, Red Captain looked over his soldiers, their glowing eyes steady, their voices united. Let them see. Let them fear. The experiment is no longer secret. It is truth. It is memory. And memory always returns. The council chamber shook with noise. Delegates shouted over one another, their voices full of fear and rage. Wings flared, mandibles clattered, claws scraped stone. For centuries, they had ruled the galaxy with arrogance. Now they trembled, knowing their greatest mistake, mocking humanity. The insectoid leader slammed his spiked limbs against the floor. They are abominations. Shadows wearing flesh. If they are not stopped, they will consume us all. The avian scholar spread her wings, her feathers trembling. How do you fight soldiers who rise again after death? How do you stop an army that thinks as one? The reptilian general roared, his voice cracking under fear. You kill them before they rise. You burn them before they strike. We must summon every fleet, every weapon, and crush this Red Captain before it is too late. But even as he roared, his claws trembled. He remembered his own soldiers fleeing in terror at the first whispers of Umbra. The young scholar rose, his voice cutting through the chaos. You cannot crush what you do not understand. You mock them for their bodies. You erase their name from history. And in silence, they built this. The chamber grew still. His words lingered, heavy and undeniable. The speaker gripped his golden staff, but his voice cracked. Then what choice do we have? If they are Umbra, if they are awakening, what hope is left? Before anyone could answer, the screens flickered. Red light filled the chamber. And there he was. Red Captain. He stood on the bridge of his dreadnought, black uniform sharp against the glow of the armada behind him. Around him, Umbra soldiers stood silent, their faintly glowing eyes fixed forward, their bodies calm and ready. His voice was steady. Cold. Certain. You ask what hope is left. None. Not against us. You cannot fight what you mocked. You cannot kill what you never understood. The chamber froze. The reptilian general tried to roar, but his words broke. Then why reveal yourselves now? Why not strike when we were blind? Red Captain's gaze cut through him. Because conquest is not our goal. Death is simple. But fear lasts forever. You will live. And you will remember. The insectoid leader clattered, desperate. What do you want from us? Tell us. The human's eyes narrowed. What we always wanted. Not your thrones. Not your fleets. Only truth. You saw fragile bodies. You mocked soft flesh. But flesh was never our weapon. Umbra is. Memory is. And memory does not die. The council chamber shook with panic. Some delegates screamed for surrender. Others demanded war. None agreed. Their unity, once unshakable, shattered like glass. On reptilian fortresses, commanders refused orders, terrified of shadows in the void. In insectoid hives, workers abandoned their tunnels, whispering the phrase in fear. On avian towers, children chanted the words in the streets. Flesh was never their weapon. We are Umbra. The speaker sank into his chair. His golden staff slipped from his claws and clattered to the floor. His eyes were hollow as he whispered. The galaxy is already lost. The smuggler prisoner raised his head, his lips curling into a faint smile. No. Not lost. Changed. This is the galaxy that remembers. On the screen, Red Captain raised his hand. Behind him, the armada shifted. Thousands of warships aligned, black as the void, their engines glowing faint red. The light painted the chamber walls crimson, like blood. His voice was final, merciless. Your counsel is broken. Your unity is shattered. This is the beginning of remembrance. You will not forget us. You will not erase us. You will see us in every silence, in every shadow. We are humanity. We are Umbra. And we have returned. The transmission ended. The chamber sat in silence. No laughter. No mockery. Only fear. The council had collapsed. The galaxy was no longer laughing. The council chamber, once full of mockery and arrogance, now sat in silence. Delegates slumped in their seats, their wings drooping, their claws trembling, their mandibles clattering without rhythm. The golden staff of the speaker lay forgotten on the floor. They had seen the truth. And truth had broken them. Above the council world, the sky burned red. The human armada hovered in perfect silence, thousands of ships stretching across the stars. Black holes blocked out constellations. Engines glowed faintly crimson, casting rivers of bloodlight across the oceans below. Billions stared upward, certain this was their last day. But the fire never came. The armada only watched. On reptilian fortresses, soldiers hid in their barracks, refusing orders. In insectoid hives, workers abandoned tunnels, whispering of Umbra. On avian towers, children stood in plazas, repeating the words like prophecy. Flesh was never their weapon. Umbra is. In the chamber, the speaker finally rose. His voice was broken, hollow. Why? If they hold such power, why do they not strike us down? Why do they not burn our worlds to ash? No one answered. Until the screens lit again. Red Captain appeared, tall and calm on the bridge of his dreadnought. Behind him stood the Umbra soldiers, their eyes glowing faint red, their movements perfectly still. His voice was low, merciless. You ask why we do not fire. Because dead worlds are forgotten. Living worlds remember. And remembrance is the weapon you cannot escape. Delegates shivered. The reptilian general, once so loud, whispered with trembling claws. Then this is conquest of memory. Red Captain's gaze was cold as the void. No. Conquest is easy. Fear is forever. You will remember our name in every silence. You will see us in every shadow. And when your children look to the stars, they will whisper what you mocked. His voice hardened, sharp as steel. Humanity endures. The avian scholar's wings drooped as she whispered, and if we resist? The human's eyes burned brighter. Then we remind you again. And again. Until memory itself bows. In that moment, every delegate knew the truth. Their fleets could not save them, their armies could not match them, their science could not explain them. The fragile species they mocked had become something more, something greater, something inevitable. Humanity had become the shadow in which the galaxy lived. The screens flickered one last time. Red Captain's face filled the chamber, his words searing themselves into history. This was never myth. This was never rumor. This was warning. You saw fragile bodies. But flesh was never our strength. Flesh was the mask. The dark secret was always our truth. We are Umbra. We are humanity. And we have returned. The transmission ended. The armada shifted, engines roaring softly. One by one, the black warships vanished into hyperspace, slipping away like shadows dissolving into night. The stars returned. But silence remained. And silence now belonged to Earth. On reptilian fortresses, soldiers dropped their weapons. In insectoid hives, workers bowed their heads. On avian towers, children repeated Red Captain's words as though they were sacred. We are Umbra. We are humanity. And we have returned. In the council chamber, no one laughed. No one mocked. The speaker whispered the truth, his golden eyes dim. The galaxy will never forget. The galaxy will never be free. And deep in the void, the humans prepared again. Because memory was their weapon. And memory never dies.